Thanks everyone for being here. It's April 6th update. This is our update from the goings on over the weekend and looking into the week ahead. The city continues to work on meeting options in the event we must hold virtual only meetings. Tonight at the City Council meeting, we're going to see an example of how we do a meeting with a couple of members at least phoning in. I think it's going to present a little bit of a challenge because we don't have a lot of practice doing it, but there may come a time when we need to hold a meeting only virtually, depending on how this next month or so goes. Report from the Rapid City Police. There are people out roaming the city, bored people out roaming the city, especially at night, and especially juveniles. So underage people or older teenage people out in carloads, driving around, getting into trouble, coming in contact with the police, and then think it's cute to tell the police that they're all positive for COVID-19. This is not safe behavior. It's not productive. And it does the opposite of what we're trying to do with social distancing. And I'll just tell you that the government's specialty is being reactionary. No government was ever hailed as being a futuristic, only looking forward organization. So during this pandemic, we're trying to be very proactive. We're trying to prevent something that hasn't happened in its entirety yet. And so it would be easy for us to go back into reactionary mode and do things with this, like create a curfew or put in further restrictions. That's what we're good at. That's our comfort zone. So we're just asking the people to use some better sense. Don't let your kids go out in other carloads of kids. And you have a responsibility as a community member to make sure that this stops. Marketing data that I came into possession of this weekend indicates, and this is through the use of your mobile device GPS marketing data, that behavior is changing across South Dakota. I got to see a county-by-county report, and in Pennington County, the retail and recreation visits are down 42%, according to this data. Park attendance, people frequenting the parks, is up 90%. So that's good. There's only one county in South Dakota that's got more, a higher percent of people avoiding retail and recreation, and that's Brookings County. So good for them, but we're very, very near the top. Still have some way to go. On a different topic, today we made a press release that there's an increasing number of non-flushables going in your sewer system. We only assume that this has to do in part to shortage of toilet paper. And I'm just going to warn you that flushing things down the toilet that don't belong could result in a clogged pipe, and it could result in that sewage coming back in your home. And from experience, I can tell you, you don't want that to happen. So we want to keep the town safe, providing a way to discharge sewage from your home into a safe destination, the wastewater treatment facility, is much better than having it pool in your basement. So those things, if it is paper products having to be used as toilet paper alternatives, just put them in the garbage, not in the toilet. Code enforcement continues to make checks on compliance with the emergency ordinance. The majority, if not all, of those compliance checks are done based on a complaint. So there are very few complaints, first of all, but we do have watchdogs out there in the community that give us tips. Code enforcement's found a very, very high percentage of compliance. Another item today, 150 South Dakota mayors and I signed a letter to Governor Kristi Noem urging her to declare a public health emergency in South Dakota. This will open up more options to South Dakota cities and possibly counties wishing to take action to slow the spread of the virus. I just got done watching the governor's press conference where she's issued a new executive order this time. I haven't had a chance to read it, but she stated that all of the shoulds have turned into shalls in the executive order. So that's progress. Sioux Falls today has issued a Safer at Home proclamation, a formal list of recommendations from the mayor on taking better precautions with social distancing. We've been meeting regularly with Monument Health regarding this virus, and most recently the predictive model that has been published documenting the probable spread of COVID-19. It's important to know that these models change every day, that there's new data and new reasons to adjust the models, and that the models are planning tools only. They are not a look into a crystal ball. They're used for planning. There is evidence from that planning and that modeling that social distancing is working in Rapid City, in the Rapid City area. The biggest contributors thus far to the difference in the spread is attributed to closed schools, business closures, whether voluntary or mandated, and business restrictions. So that's good news. And after consulting with Monument Health and all things considered, my recommendation to the City Council tonight will be to extend the business closures 2 additional weeks and then to reevaluate at the second council meeting in April. And here are my observations over the weekend. I went out shopping this weekend for food. Here's my observation. Some stores are doing a great job protecting their customers and slowing the spread of the virus. And Target is one of those. I know there's others. In fact, we'd like to hear the stories of the other stores that have done a good job restricting customer flow, putting in protective barriers or anything of that nature. Target's one of them. They have stickers on the floor where you should stand when you're in the checkout line. They have a public address periodically telling you to stay 6 feet away from other customers. We have heard late last week that Walmart was putting in similar measures. I also noticed that some families still do not grasp the seriousness of the situation. Both stores I went to this weekend, I saw entire families there with small children running around in the aisles, playing and laughing, touching all the toys, climbing on the lawn equipment, all of this type of thing. It is not advised to take your entire family out on a shopping trip, especially if you can't keep them to keep their hands off of everything else. It's a danger to them, and it's a danger to other people in the store. This is where personal responsibility really has to come into play. We all have a duty to our fellow citizen to be careful and to protect them as we protect ourselves. So more work is definitely needed to take responsible action to slow the spread of this virus. Any questions from the media today? The question was, have we been in contact with the National Guard discussing additional hospital space generally? And so there are two things. The National Guard intends on putting up a 100-bed temporary facility, I believe, on the grounds of Monument Health. In addition to that, Monument has been in contact with the National Guard, talking to them about alternative locations for hospital beds. And so I don't have all the details on that conversation, but they definitely are a part of this plan and have been willing to contribute the whole way. I believe we will take similar action to Sioux Falls, which will be in large part a suggestion or a recommendation from the mayor's office or from the city administration. I did note that this morning that I read about the Ellsworth Air Force Base issuing a shelter-at-home order, and it's a little different when the colonel makes an order. It's enforceable by law. And when a city makes a recommendation, it's not legally enforceable. So it's important for us to continue to meet regularly, to find areas where we can improve our chances without doing undue damage. And so if and when that time is appropriate, we'll do that. And that could be later today or later in the week. It's hard telling, but definitely not opposed to doing any of that. Yep. Well, the other item that's on the agenda tonight for second reading will be the amendment to the ordinance, which will allow the City Council to make alterations to that ordinance by resolution. So in other words, with one reading. And then after that, there's a whole bunch of routine business on the council agenda. And so we have stood up a mail-in, email form on our website for people to submit public comment. When we can, as soon as we can, we will publish those on the city website under the agenda for the council meeting, and we'll make all the city council members aware of the public comment coming in for tonight's meeting. I do not believe we're going to spend a couple hours reading emails tonight, but okay, and it is, I was just informed that the public comment emails are on the agenda tonight, linked to that agenda. Not very many. Less than 10 last I knew. Well, I think the question was, what's my reaction to the schools closing for the rest of the year? Well, it's unfortunate because even the kid that dislikes school benefits from school, both academically and socially, and so I feel bad for the students having to go home. I feel especially bad for the seniors who will be spending the rest of their school year not going to school. We'll probably not have an in-person graduation. It's going to be a very disappointing time for them. But not having school at this moment in time is absolutely essential. It's the right decision, And there's no doubt in my mind when we made our first 1-week closure earlier last month that we probably wouldn't see them back this year at all. So it's unfortunate, but very necessary for everyone's health. And again, the question was to elaborate on the governor's executive order versus the mayor's suggestion. So there's varying levels of involvement that the government can have at this point. We've been advocating and we've started marketing, and we have enacted an ordinance that restricts certain types of businesses. And so going forward, we can do all of that more and more as time goes on. The governor, though, holds the power, the government authority in the state. Keep in mind that cities, all of the authorities cities have is granted to us from the state, and that's it. So our authority to do citywide lockdowns or stay-in-place orders and that type of thing is very limited compared to what the governor may decide to do. So our duty as a municipality then would be to support the governor's executive order and to encourage people to follow that and encourage not testing the limits of that and the enforceability of that because we're here doing all of these things for the greater good, the general public health of our community, and that really matters. And unfortunately, there's still some in the community that believe this is a hoax, that this is a political tool, or that this still isn't any worse than the flu. And we see those kind of positions being made every day on social media, and it's just really disappointing because statistically and scientifically, this disease is a proven fact. And so that's the way it goes. We're going to have all sides. In fact, we got a couple angry emails today of people promising to be here tonight to complain about the government, and they're putting on restrictions or not doing something right related to the virus. So they're welcome at public comment. Okay, any others? All right, thanks for being here, everyone. Appreciate it.